Okay. So good evening, everyone, to another session of Biz Webinar. I hope you all have joined in. We have a huge count today, which makes me very happy. And I am your faculty for today for conducting the Biz Webinar. Can you all hear me? And is there any audio issues? Can you just give me a confirmation in the chat box? If there are any audio issues, please let me know. Okay, all right. Thank you for being so active, and I wish that you remain so active throughout the session. Just another information that I would need from you all is, do you have access to the Xplore Iron portal? Do all of you have access to the Xplore Iron portal? Just let me know in the chat box. Okay, most of you do not have access. So, all right. Okay. Then fine, we shall soon begin with our session for today. I am just a bit excited to know where you all are joining in from. So which locations do we have here? Where are you all joining? Okay, Kolkata, Durgapur, Gujarat, Bihar, okay, Hyderabad, Chennai, Tamil Nadu, okay, Indore, Hyderabad, Bangalore, Bhubaneswar, West Bengal, Hyderabad, Jamshedpur. I am getting a lot of responses. So I believe today my session is going to be literally like pan-India. And I'm very happy because of that. So without further ado, let us jump right into the session. So all of you might have come across the poster for today. All of you might have already got an idea of what we are going to discuss about today. But before that, let me just introduce you all to where am I connecting from and who am I in the first place. Just give me a moment to share my screen. And once you can see my screen, just let me know. Okay. All right. Okay. Are you all able to see my screen? Okay, it is visible. Thank you. And I look forward to all your responses like this. Just be responsive like so. Okay, so coming to who am I am Indrani Nayak. I am the BizSkills faculty for the ILP team of Bhubaneswar, TCS Bhubaneswar. However, I am originally from Kolkata. I have been born and brought up in Kolkata, but for my work purpose, I am here in Bhubaneswar. So it's great to know that my screen is visible. So I would be taking you through today's Biz Webinar, which is Biz Webinar Series 4. And we are going to talk about giving and receiving feedback. So did you all have an idea about the agenda of today's webinar, or was this a surprise for you? You had? Okay, great. So as you can see, we are going to talk about giving and receiving feedback. There are details that we are going to discuss about. Okay, you had that idea. Okay, so there are a lot of things that we have to discuss about. Before that, I have a very simple question to you all. Since we are talking about feedback, what do you think is feedback? What are your, okay, it is a response. All right, giving response, opinion. Okay, all right. So a lot of you think that it is a response or an opinion. To whom? Is there any particular people you give this feedback to, or is there any particular person who would receive this? Okay, a perspective. Okay. Okay. All right. So a lot of you already have an idea about what feedback is. To put it in a consolidated way, we can say that feedback is the recipient's response, reaction, or information to the sender of the message. So it can be anything. It can be even the way we are having a webinar right now. So this also can have a feedback. So here, who is the sender? It is me, because I am conducting the webinar and you are on the recipient end. So you are receiving the webinar, or you are receiving the message that I am trying to put across. And it can be your response, it can be your reaction, it can be your information that you can give me at the end of the session, right? So that is called feedback. So since we are a bit clear on what is exactly feedback, or what do we necessarily mean by feedback, can you share with me any instance you would consider feedback to be negative? Do you think that feedback is always negative, or do you actually associate feedback with negative things? No. Okay. All right, great. So that's a very good start. Since we are talking about feedback, we need to just put it in our mind that it is not necessarily something that we can talk about in a negative sense, or we cannot attach a negative thought with it. It can be exactly both positive and negative, but the thing is, giving feedback is not negative. If somebody is offering feedback, that is actually helping not only the person whom he is giving it to, it is also giving, or it is also helping a person who is giving it. So moving forward, can you tell me, is there any importance of having a feedback? Those of you are raising your hands, I will take your questions in the end. So we will definitely discuss about it. Okay. So a lot of you are saying yes, and absolutely you're right on track. It is very important. Okay. Your feedback is very, very important. Your feedback matters. It matters to not only the person you are giving it to, it also matters in shaping up you when you are giving that feedback. Okay. Yes, absolutely. To improve our performance, yes, understanding everything. So I have a very smart audience here, and I am very happy to see that. So your feedback is absolutely important. Now, let us just navigate through some of the reasons, or some of the possible reasons for why feedback is regarded as important. Okay. So let's see, why is feedback so important? So we can say that keeping everyone on track. So when we are imparting feedback, then we can keep everybody on track, so that all the people who are working, suppose I can give you an example of a project that we are working on. Okay. So I have myself and five other members who are there working on the project. So one person is responsible for making a part of the PPT, and the other person is responsible for making the rest of the PPT. So suppose we are sitting and discussing who is making the PPT, for with whom we are discussing. Suppose one person has made a mistake by, I would say, not including a tag in the PPT. So when I am giving a feedback regarding this to that person, the other person can also understand that, okay, I also have to include this tag in my PPT. So everybody like this is kept on track. They are on track. They can learn from others itself, right? Next is, it creates better relationships. Suppose a manager and his teammate are working on something, and the manager does not really care about what his teammate is doing, or how his teammate is actually producing the work, and he has never got any feedback for the teammate. So, and the teammate actually has a lot of areas of improvement. So do you think the teammate would be an effective employee? Do you think the teammate can actually do well in his job? No. So why? Because until and unless we understand where we are going wrong, or until and unless we understand what do we have to do, it can be a bit difficult for us to keep ourselves on track. So if the manager is interactive, if the manager talks to this person, if the manager, yes, there must be a balance of understanding. If the manager talks to this person and tells him that, okay, this is how you need to go about, this is how you need to do your work, these are the things that you need to focus on. So there, what happens is, it also creates a very nice bonding between them. And the more comfortable we are to work with somebody, the progress is greater, or the progress is better, I would say. Next would be avoiding major mistakes. So if we are in a loop of considerable and constant feedback, what happens is, we understand what are we doing wrong, right? If we understand so, then we will obviously avoid making those wrong choices in the upcoming work or upcoming schedule or in the upcoming projects. So there is obviously an increase in the scope of improvement. Very nice. Next is, that's what we were going to talk next about. That is personal and professional growth. Okay. The thing is, for personal and professional growth, we have to keep in mind all the other points here. Okay. So if we are utilizing feedbacks, if we are effectively putting forth our feedback and seeking feedback, it also takes a lot of effort on our part to be on track. But at the end of the day, we will come across a lot of growth. We will learn from it. Okay. Next would be motivation. If we get feedback, and as you already said and pointed out, that feedback might be, just a moment, let's switch the light. Am I visible to all of you? There has been a power outage here. Okay, thank you. So for personal and professional growth, we are talking about motivation as well. So if we are motivated, if we get a good feedback, if we get a very positive feedback from somebody, we are always pushed to do better. Okay. So then what happens is we try to say that, okay, this time I have got this good feedback and next time I will do better. So that motivation also comes in. We are also motivated. Next is, it improves leadership. Today, we might not be leaders. Today, we might be just employees, just workers, teammates. But one day, soon enough, we would become leaders, right? So if we are on the path of becoming a leader, then what are the things that we need to, focus on? What are the things that we need to keep in mind? So we need to keep in mind about the other points, that how effectively we are giving feedback, how effectively we are seeking feedback. All these things are very important, and it also improves us as obviously a professional and a person. So I hope this is clear to you. And we all know these things. This is just a brushing up of this importance of feedback. Now, coming to also another thing is, there is better employee engagement. When we give feedback, there is, as I said, a continuous understanding and a very nice relationship between all the employees working in. So that healthy environment to work actually gives us a lot of employee engagement. All the employees are engaged in what they are doing. They find their belongingness in there. Okay. So with that, there are certain types of feedback in the workplace that we come across. So as you said, feedback can be negative, feedback can be positive, feedback can be any kind of. So let us talk about the certain kinds of feedback. What are they? I'll give you one example and you would get to know what it is. So one is a positive feedback. So what happens is, when somebody tells us about all the areas of strength we have, okay, what happens in positive feedback is, suppose we have delivered a presentation really well, okay, and we have just seeked certain feedback that how did you like my presentation? And it absolutely, you are right, it motivates us. Okay, so a positive feedback actually boosts up our motivation. It also helps us to understand that, okay, we are good at this. We have done this well. So it can be very basic. It can be somebody just saying that, hey, I really like the way you spoke in front of so many people. So that is a very positive feedback. I liked your confidence. These are all positive feedback. Next is, there is something called the constructive feedback. Now, what is a constructive feedback? What does construction mean? To build up something. Exactly, to encourage something. So constructive feedback means when we are building up something, or we are trying to somebody, or we are trying to help somebody, where they bring up and they build up their confidence. It can be that some people are not very well rehearsed with what they are presenting. It can be that they don't really understand what exactly to focus on. It can be that they are not very comfortable with what they are doing, but they are trying to do it in a very positive manner, right? They are also doing it exactly. The right guidance is needed. Sometimes we don't have that guidance, so we don't know where we can improve. So constructive feedback is something which gives us the areas of improvement. I am not saying this that constructive feedback is negative feedback or it only focuses on things that we don't know. So that is not the thing. Constructive feedback is when we come across the areas of improvement and somebody guides us. Somebody gives us the guideline that how to navigate through this. Suppose I tell somebody or somebody tells me that, okay, you had given a presentation to us, but somewhere we did not like your presentation. Your presentation could have been more colorful. Okay, your presentation could have got certain more pictures, all these things. So this is a constructive feedback. That person is giving me the right place to focus, where my presentation can do better. Okay. Next is coaching feedback. Coaching feedback is again when somebody coaches us, when we hire somebody just for the purpose of giving that feedback and just for the purpose of making us do better. Okay, so it can be like, just as the example reads here, when somebody just tells you, okay, these are the areas and I am your feedback coach, I will just give you certain tasks and you will do this and then we will get back to it. And for this, they work as a support. They tell them that these are the things that you need to do and then you will be good to go. And last but not the least, we come to a negative or a destructive feedback. This is not well appreciated in the workplace. Not only in the workplace, it is not well appreciated by, I would say, anybody, because what would happen if we have a very negative or destructive feedback? The thing is, we would be demotivated. It would be very demotivating for us. We would lose confidence. Sometimes we put in a lot of effort in doing something, right? So it can be that just one comment, that suppose somebody tells that after I deliver a presentation, somebody tells me that, hey, I didn't really like your presentation. I didn't know what was wrong, but I didn't really like it. So this is a very negative feedback that I can get. This is a kind of destructive feedback that I can get. It can actually create a lot of problems in me when it comes to motivation, when it comes to confidence. It can say that, okay, you didn't like it, so maybe I am not good enough to make any presentation. Okay, so negative feedback or destructive feedback is something that we can avoid. So here are the 4 types of feedback. I hope I'm not going too fast. Do you think I'm going too fast? Should I need to slow down? Okay, great. Thank you for the response. Okay, so these are the types of feedback. Can anybody tell me which type of feedback do you find to be most effective? We talked about positive feedback, we talked about constructive feedback, we talked about coaching feedback, and we talked about negative or destructive feedback. So which feedback do you think? Exactly. So a lot of you already know that constructive feedback is the one which is the most effective. Now, why do we want to stick to this particular kind of feedback? What is the necessity, or why is it so necessary that we stick to constructive feedback only? So constructive feedback, what it is, we will also have a detailed discussion later. But constructive feedback is actually the most effective, and research has actually showed us that constructive feedback helps a lot to people who want to learn. Okay, it helps people to learn, it helps people to grow. It actually identifies the areas of improvement. It identifies where that person is doing exactly well, where they can do better, or where that person needs to focus more. So why so? It can come to your mind that, okay, all of a sudden you are saying constructive feedback is important, but why? The reason being, number one, it builds up an open dialogue. But that means that person giving the feedback and person receiving the feedback, they need to be on the same page. So it creates a very open environment for all of us to talk, for all of us to know whether we need to learn something from here, have we done something really well, or should we need to focus on something. So constructive feedback builds up an open dialogue. That means when everybody can communicate openly, all the gates of communications are open. Next is also sets the expectations. You can see constructive criticism helps to clarify expectations. It helps to set the tone, the expectation of, suppose I have an audience. All of you joined today, you got the poster beforehand, you got to know what this session would be about. So you had certain expectations. You knew a little bit about what to expect from this session. Okay, so now it is my duty to render or impart the things that you expected. So what are your expectations? That also can be set by constructive feedback. When somebody tells you that, okay, this is what I want you to do, this is where you could focus on. You can just focus on your vocabulary. You can just include more pictures in your PPT. You can include a little more stories, a little more examples, so that it becomes very interactive. So all these things are actually setting the expectation for the other person, isn't it? And last but not the least, it helps in continuous learning. We all are in a loop of continuous learning. Exactly. It focuses on specific people, attributes, values, morals, whatever you can say. So it also helps in very continuous learning. So we always are in that loop. We are trying to do better. With each step, we are going ahead, right? Okay. So as I said, we would discuss about what is a constructive feedback. Let's see what it is. Okay. As you can see, you can just read the very important and key words here. The thing is, it is aimed at achieving something which is very positive. Okay. You can provide somebody with ideas. You can provide somebody with advice, comments, suggestions to make their work better in the future. And those suggestions should be very useful to them. So when we are giving a constructive feedback, what are we aiming at? We are aiming at a very positive result from them. Okay. Why are we aiming at this? The reason being that we cannot just say that, hey, I did not like your PPT. You don't know how to make a PPT. That is actually not leading to a positive result. That is actually a negative feedback, which is going to lead to that person being demotivated, that person not understanding exactly where he went wrong. Okay. So we want a positive outcome of it. We want that person to excel in making a PPT. So how can we do that? We can just give them certain solution. We can exactly point out the probable solutions. We can give them advice. We can suggest them that, hey, have you ever come across this thing? Have you ever come across this presentation made by your classmate? Or see how they have used the colors here. See how they have used the theme here. So all these things come to play when we talk about constructive feedback. It is not only a suggestion for improvement, which is absolutely it is, but it is also something that is brought out from a very clear mindset and from a very clear aim. And that aim is to help the other person achieve a positive outcome. Okay. So absolutely, it is comparison is kind of a destructive feedback. I would say someone asks that whether comparison is a constructive feedback or a negative feedback. So I would say it is, depending on the situation, it is a destructive feedback. So comparison as into what? If you are comparing the person's earlier works to the person's works that are about to come up, then it can be constructive. But suppose we say that, hey, your presentation is not as good as hers, then it is something that is very destructive. Okay. So it can be constructive, it can be destructive depending upon the situation. Moving on, there are certain ways to provide a constructive feedback. Okay. Can any one of you suggest that what can we keep in mind when we give a constructive feedback? Tone. Okay. Do not use negative words, not to hurt the people. Positive tone, language. Encourage the person. Suggestions, our attitude. All right. So I see most of my work here is already done. So definitely we can provide a constructive feedback and we can keep these pointers in mind. Number one is offering observations. Now you can ask me that, what does that mean? Offering observations? It means that give feedback on what you have already observed. Suppose I'll take a very basic example. Suppose somebody comes late to the office, but there is a protocol that we follow. There is a particular time that we have to report in, right? So we can give the feedback to that person by saying that, hey, so and so, it has been observed that you are reporting late to office. May I know the reason for it? So here you see what happens is you are offering observation. It is not out of the blue. You are not giving the feedback like, hey, you would be terminated if you come late to office. So what happens is when we offer observations, we are gaining the trust of that person. That person knows that we have closely observed that person, and from facts, we are speaking this. It is not out of the facts. It's not out of the blue that we have come across and this person and we just want to tell them that, hey, you are not allowed to come to office late. No, we have observed. We have seen that this person is reporting late every day, and that's why we are giving this feedback to this person. So it is considered to be effective when we are giving our feedback based on observations. Next one is, as many of you pointed out, be direct. Now, how is that important? Why is being direct so important? Thing is, we all have little amount of time in our hands, okay? And if somebody is giving us feedback, we want that person to be direct, concise, and to the point, okay? So if suppose a person is just beating around the bush, your feedback, your PPT, okay, it was all right, but you could have actually, you could all these things. If you see, what happens is, if you come across this kind of statements, it can confuse the person. So when we are giving a constructive feedback, it can be that the person actually is looking forward to the areas of improvement. The person is trying to figure out that, okay, these are the areas where I need to focus. So if we are going about in a roundabout fashion about the feedback, what happens is that person will lose the focus. That person will no more be interested to listen to what feedback we have. That person would be like, okay, this person is just saying all these things just because he has to say. There is nothing to be offered. Okay. Next is displaying empathy. Many of you said that we have to have the right tone. Many of you said that we have to have the right emotions, that compassion towards them. Definitely. So when we are giving a feedback to somebody, that person has put in some effort, right? So then displaying empathy, take consideration that, okay, this is all right. You have done, I understand, I acknowledge that you have done all these things, but there are certain things that you can improve on. And these are the things that you need to improve on. Then vocabulary, then making a PPT, all these things you can include. But empathy needs to be there. We need to acknowledge that person. We need to acknowledge his or her efforts. It is very important. We all are human beings. We have our emotions. We can be, I would say, demotivated. We can be frustrated. It can happen. But the thing is, when we are giving a feedback, we also need to consider in what mental state that other person is in. Okay. Next is showing sincerity. What does that mean? From a position where we are offering feedback, we need to be very sincere about it. We need to be accountable about it. We need to know that, okay, we are saying all these things and we are sincerely doing it. We are honest about it. It is not from a personal grudge that I am giving a very negative or very destructive feedback to this person. No, it can't be so. If we are evaluating something, if we are telling about something to some person, we need to be very sincere about it as well. Okay. It cannot be that I don't like this person, so no matter what PPT this person presents, I will never appreciate it. It's exactly, it is no joking around with somebody's efforts. If somebody has put in their effort, we need to acknowledge it. If we see that person is actually trying to come up with a good thing, then we need to appreciate it. Next is provide guidance and explanation. The thing that we have already covered, that our feedback needs to be a guidance. If we are providing a constructive feedback to somebody, it better be a guidance. Okay, we cannot just say that I don't like your PPT. What is this person trying to put across? did not like this PPT overall. What am I supposed to do? Where am I supposed to focus? So if you are saying that I did not like your PPT, provide the explanation of it. Why didn't you like my PPT? What were you expecting of the PPT? What were you looking forward to in the PPT? Okay. So it can be that sometimes we are ourselves very, just give me a moment. Yeah. We are ourselves very caught up. We ourselves don't know what to say exactly. And we beat around the bush. We provide certain insights. We provide certain feedbacks. And then we are like, okay, this is what you need to do. But it happens most of the time that the other person is left clueless. As in, okay, you said that I have to work on my vocabulary, but why? Why did you say so? So it can be that I heard you speaking some words, or I heard you pronouncing some words correctly, incorrectly, or maybe you are using certain words that are not identified by all the people around us. So that kind of explanation demands to be there. When we are providing a feedback, we are demanded to be ready with that explanation. Okay. Also the guidance. If I ask you to improve your vocabulary, what exactly can you do to improve your vocabulary? I cannot just leave you in the dark by saying that, hey, you just have to work on your vocab. How will you understand? What exactly are you trying to get across? And where from can I understand where have I gone wrong? So I can also have to provide you with, hey, you can refer to this site, you can refer to go this video. Here it is explained of why you need to have a proper vocabulary and how you can improve your vocabulary. All these things are there. So explanation is the key. Absolutely, your vocabulary can increase, or you can actually, excel your vocabulary by reading newspaper. You can read editorials, you can go through videos. There are so many videos, English movies, series, everything play an important part. And I'm so happy to see that all of you are well aware of this. Very nice. And second last thing that we are going to talk about is listening. Sometimes while providing feedback, we become very evaluative. We can say, what can I say? We can just say that, hey, okay, you have done this painting. Okay, I'll give you 4 out of 10. Okay. Did we listen to how this person has come up here? How this person is trying to present that painting? Maybe this person had got a fracture in his hand 3 months back. Now he is barely able to hold a pencil, and then he has come up with this painting. So we have to listen. We have to know the background. We have to consider the perspective. Exactly. The sender's perspective is very important. We need to pay attention to understand that exactly why is this person talking like so? Exactly what is the problem with this person that this person could not come up with a better proposal or presentation. So that listening is very important. Okay. Talk about alterable points. Now, the very important, last but not the least at all, is we can provide suggestions on things that can be altered, right? I'll give you a very, very basic example to this. I always use this when I take my sessions. That is, this actually happened also. Once there was a presentation going on and the person was a bit tall, right? And the projector there was placed on a table. It was not attached to the ceiling. So what happened is the view of the projector was a bit or partially blocked by this person who was delivering the presentation. So what happened is one person said that your presentation was effective. I did come across a lot of valuable information, but I don't really have any words to put it forward, but your height was an issue. So this person delivering the presentation was actually taken aback. He was like, my height was an issue as in? So he said that you were too tall. You were blocking the view of the projector, so the presentation was not as effective. So how could this feedback be given as a constructive feedback? What is this person supposed to do if he is tall? Shall he chop off his legs? Is that possible? No, right? So this is not an alterable point. Rather, what could be the alterable point? It can be that you should have placed the projector on a raised or elevated platform. That is alterable. I can alter the position of the projector. Exactly. but I cannot alter my height. So if the feedback comes like you are too tall for rendering a presentation or you're too tall for delivering a presentation, that is something that we don't know how to deal with. And that is not a point where we actually have to work on. Definitely, where we have to keep the projector can be a suggestion. It can be a constructive feedback that you are trying to put across. I'll keep that in mind. So you can say that, hey, your presentation was really nice. However, the height was an issue. The projector's height was too low, so some of the information got blocked. So from next time, you can try to put it on an elevated platform. So that is how a constructive feedback goes like. So all these points, if we keep in mind, definitely I'll come to how do we respond to a negative feedback. But before that, how to provide a feedback is also important. Why? Because if we are efficiently and effectively providing our feedback, as I already said, we are not only helping the person we are providing it to, we are also increasing our knowledge. We are also becoming better professionals ourselves. And you all are set to become good professionals. You all are just waiting for your joining letters. I can see from the chat. You will soon get it. Stay positive, as somebody is saying there. All right. And obviously start and learn to become a professional. It is very, very important because all of us are now becoming professionals. We are learning how to do it. Okay. Somebody says my voice is not clear. Is my voice not clear? Okay. I think it would be a problem with your connection maybe. You can just try to reconnect once if my voice is not coming clearly, because here in the TCS office, I have a proper connection that I can guarantee. Okay. So, all right. So that is what I had to offer about constructive feedback and how to provide it. Okay. Moving on, we also have the feedback sandwich. Do you all know about feedback sandwich? No? Have you ever had a sandwich? Let's go with that question first. Okay. So, as you can already see, it is mentioned here what a feedback sandwich is consisting of, but I'll show you what exactly it is. Here is the sandwich. This is what we call a feedback sandwich. So suppose you are giving this feedback to a person who has come to you with maybe a presentation, a painting, anything, and seeks your feedback. Suppose I come to you and say that, hey, can you please suggest me what to do with this presentation? I have made this presentation. I know that's technically a burger, but the thing is, if you think about a sandwich, it somewhat resembles the structure of a sandwich. So definitely you caught me. That is a burger, but that just consider it to be 2 loaves of bread. Okay. So what a feedback sandwich is, it is a technique of giving a feedback or a constructive feedback where you start with the good points or the positive feedback, then you put the constructive feedback in the middle, and then you end up with the positive feedback. Now, why do we need it? Do we have a need for this? It can be just constructive feedback. You just now discussed that which is the most effective one, and we all said that it's constructive feedback. So why do you need to have positive feedback? Yes. So there is a requirement for it. Definitely. What is the requirement? Feelings, empathy, and also setting the tone. As I said, we all are emotional beings. Human beings have emotions. So we cannot say that, okay, so here are the feedbacks. You have to work on your vocabulary, go to this website, look for these videos. You will have this helpful points. Go and improve your feedback. You can also make it more colorful. Requirement is a lot of colors. You have to catch the attention of people whom you are delivering the presentation to. So include red, blue, yellow, green, all these colors in your presentation. Also put in some more pictures. You can go to this site for pictures. All this sounds very mechanical. If we are saying it like so, we are sounding as if we ourselves are not human beings. We are some machines, right? We are just giving you the feedback. However, if we are rendering or if we are delivering our feedback in a feedback sandwich, we can start with a positive feedback. And as you are saying, exactly, it is a trick that the psychologists have suggested. Why? Because they have said human emotions are If they are well catered to, only then the human being or that person would find any interest in your feedback. So if you turn out to be, suppose you are very well said, you are very sincere, and you are delivering the feedback from a very positive aspect. You want that person to actually excel in the field. But you are delivering the feedback like a mechanical person. You are delivering the feedback as if you are no way comparable to that person. That person would never understand why you are saying this. The only thing that the person will register is, okay, this rude person just told me I have to work on this. Okay. So just to please our brain, that humbleness is actually important. We have to have that right tone. We have to be polite, and we can just give our layer of constructive feedback bundled up with a little bit of positive feedback. It will give them the motivation. It will also do our job. We will not be regarded as the very strict ma'am or very strict sir who never shares a smile, who just gives feedback as if we are random people working around, we know nothing. No, if we want it to be effective, we need to hurt them, as in HEART, hurt them, not HURT, hurt them, right? Because we all can do a little bit better with a little bit of compassion. Okay, so we can all have a heart to not hurt. Okay, all right. So I'm really interested in seeing all your responses. You are actually making my webinar a success, I can say. All this information that you are sharing, all the responses I'm getting, very nice. Okay, all your questions, I will definitely come to it at the end of the webinar. Till then, I request you all to do give an ear to my presentation. Okay, all right. Next, we can move on to how to receive a feedback as a professional. As someone was asking that how to receive a feedback that is constructive, or maybe how to receive a negative feedback. Number one, start with asking for feedback. Seek feedback. If you have done something, then ask for it. You need to know where are the areas of improvement. You need to know where you need to go right or wrong. You can just ask for it. Say that, hey, I have made this presentation. What do you think about it? Next is listen and comprehend. When somebody is offering the feedback, first listen. It can be that a million of things are coming to your mind. It can be that you want to say that, hey, no, I know my vocabulary is right on point. I was just nervous, so I could not come up with the right word. But refrain from doing so. Just listen what the person has to say, and also comprehend. Comprehending or understanding, in other words, is very necessary. Try to understand why that person is giving that feedback. Is there any personal gain for the person by demeaning you or just saying all these wrong things? No, right? Not necessarily. So listen and understand why exactly the person is trying to give you this kind of a guideline or maybe this kind of a guidance. Second is this. Third one is avoiding excuses. We all can have excuses, and I know it is not the same for everybody. Our days can be good, our days can be bad. Some days, maybe even if we are very well prepared, we forget what we are supposed to speak about. It can happen. And we are human beings. We can make mistakes. It's not a problem. But make sure that you are not making it that evident as an excuse. Okay? You are not, I won't say you are not supposed to, I would say refrain from giving excuses. When somebody is giving you the feedback, listen to it first, and then your defensiveness can take a backseat. Why? The reason being, similarly, psychology. If I am giving some feedback to somebody and that person is constantly being defensive, that person is constantly giving me excuses, then what will I think? I will think that, okay, he or she doesn't even want to listen to me. Then why did that person seek my feedback? I don't want to say anything. Okay, fine. You want to listen to that your presentation is great? That's what you get. Your presentation is great. Okay, all right. But quit being defensive. Don't show that you are very unhappy with whatever they're saying. If you are saying something, if they are saying something, then listen to it first. Process and own the mistake. Okay, what does that mean? That means that if you have got a feedback from somebody, process it, understand where from it came, understand what that person wanted to mean. And if genuinely you think that that was a mistake on your part, or there was something that you have neglected, there are some faults that you have actually done in the particular thing for which you seek the feedback, then own it. Say that, yeah, my apologies for this. It would never be repeated, right? Accept it. There is nothing wrong in accepting. We are all human beings, so we can make mistakes. But the greatness lies when we actually accept our mistake. It is very important that we say that, yeah, I understand I went wrong here, but from now onwards, this would never happen because I will keep an eye. Okay? And also state your feelings. Just now, as I said, that you can say that, okay, so no defensiveness, no excuses, but what if I'm feeling hurt? So then you can say very politely, very swiftly to the person that, hey, I really agree with you on those points. However, I just wanted to keep you informed that this was a really short notice PPT. I was really not doing well for the past few days, so I could not give my 100% to it. That is absolutely fine. That person would also get the idea that, okay, why were there so many problems in the presentation, or why were there so many problems in the project that you came up with. Last but not the least, very, very important when it comes to negative feedback, you filter and you implement. That means, what does a filter do? Can anybody tell me what a filter does? It purifies. Okay. Exactly. It sorts, it purifies, it separates out. Whatever resonates with you, you take that with you. If somebody said that, hey, you have a stammering problem, you should not speak in the PPT during the presentation only. Do you really think that can actually motivate somebody to do better? No, right? It can actually demotivate somebody. It can say that somebody can feel like, okay, so stammering is such a bad problem that I will never be allowed to speak. That's not the case. Here you need to learn how to filter it out. So the two things. You have a stammering problem, and please do not take part in any presentation henceforth. So what do I have to filter? My problem has been identified. Somebody told me that my problem lies with stammering. So I can work on it. I can try to make myself better. I can try to work on stammering. I can go to maybe a coach who would guide me how to overcome stammering, or how to go about it in the right way. And what do I need to filter out? That is, I will not never take part in a presentation. That is not how it works. Why would I never take part in a presentation? I would definitely. Once I do well, once I can do something that helps me with my stammering, once I have that confidence, I will definitely take part in another presentation and I will do great. So that filtration is very important. We need to filter out what actually is meant for from a good perspective or from a good agenda, and what is not. Whatever helps you grow, you keep it. Whatever is not helping you grow, or whatever is there to demotivate you, you keep it aside. Okay. Last but not the least, try and implement the feedback. If somebody has given you certain guidelines, if somebody has given you certain guidance, then implement it. At least try it once. I know not always will it work. Not always whatever feedback you get, you can just within seconds, you can't implement that. Okay. So what can you do instead? You can try to implement it. Just say that, okay, all right, this is what you wanted. This is what I got. But these are the challenges that I faced while trying to implement your suggestions. That's okay. Okay. So I hope now it is clear to you how you can receive the feedback as a professional. And I won't keep you for long. We are just nearing the end of the presentation. Okay. All right. So just a reminder for all my joiners today, what are the few tips that we can keep in mind while delivering and receiving feedback? Number one, we have to be very honest. We have to do it from a very sincere point of view. We can't be judgmental. We can't hold a grudge against somebody while we are giving that feedback. We can be clear to the point because that person needs that guidance. We can guide that person. We can say that, hey, these are the things you need to focus on. Rest is all will. And last but not the least, we can be empathetic, or rather, we have to be empathetic. Our tone, our politeness, our humbleness should be there. So being honest, being clear, and being empathetic will actually make us a better professional and, above all, a better human being. So with that, let us remember a quote by Brené Brown. What did she say? If we all shield ourselves from all feedback, we stop growing. And I can't agree more. It is actually what she said, and it resonates with all of us. If we never get the feedback, if our teachers never corrected us, we would have never been here where we are standing, right? So just a little bit of feedback giving and receiving would make us that person whom we are dreaming of now. Okay. So with that, I come to your feedback. Whatever feedback you have for me, you can put it in the chat box below. And a lot of you have a lot of questions about your joining. I would suggest that have patience. You will definitely get your joining letters. However, I am not the right person to answer all your queries regarding the session. The reason being, I am a faculty for ILP. I don't really have access to what is happening with your joining later. So, but one thing I can guarantee is have patience. Definitely will get whatever is yours in due time. Okay. So whatever feedback you have, you can just put it in the comment section below. And I really look forward to your feedback. Since our session was on feedback, I really appreciate your feedback. And thank you for a great session, all of you, for joining in, for being so interactive, and for making my session a success for myself. I'm so much thankful to you. Okay. With that, we reached the end of the session. And I'm really happy to see a great turnout today. All right.